Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. Christmas break continues. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George, we're going to take you on a journey tonight. We're going to start with Home Alone. We're going to talk about Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus, and we're also going to talk about a third movie that I haven't told you anything about yet. Are you excited to learn the hidden background of Home Alone?
Let's give it a shot.
I'll take
You like
it.
Home Alone, right?
Hmm?
You like Home Alone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Home Alone. Yeah, I've been watching that since I was 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is our Home Alone episode with a trickle of deadly.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously,
games.
like, Dan's going to go through his normal, like, yeah, this movie that you love, isn't it great? It's all stolen. It's stolen from the French. Just like we stole croissants.
Croissants.
And ménage à trois. I can't think of any other French things.
French fries.
That's literally the only French things we care about, I
French
think.
dressing.
Yeah, French dressing.
French fries. And for dessert, Peru. Sorry, that's a reference to Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Home Alone a little bit here, and then we'll talk about Deadly Games. Now,
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware of this, George and Travis, but Deadly Games is hitting like a renaissance this year that it's never had before. It got released on Blu-ray and 4K last year by Vinegar Syndrome, and it kind of languished outside of people that follow that company. But this year, it's on Shudder. Local theaters are showing it. It's like it's making the rounds, and people are starting to realize, like, oh my goodness, this movie's actually kind of cool for being so crazy. In Kansas City, folks, it'll play Friday the 17th of December at Screenland Armor. So if you want to watch it on the big screen and you don't want to watch it streaming, it's going to be on the big screen this Friday.
It's not going to be in Philly.
Oh, I'm sure it's playing somewhere if you dig around a little bit.
Probably.
So, George, tell us about your relationship with Home Alone. You said you've been watching it since you were 5.
Yes.
Now, did you do your homework? Did you watch it yesterday just to refresh?
Kind of. I watched like the first 15 minutes of it, and then I fell asleep. And
That's
he's
the
seen it
work
so many
ethic we
times.
know and love. Go on.
later on, earlier tonight, before I watched Deadly Games,
He watched the last 15 minutes.
I watched the rest of it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I did watch the whole movie, just not on the schedule I had planned.
Right.
Fair. Now, do you show it to your kid? Does she get to watch Home Alone?
I wanted to, but my wife
wasn't
didn't
ready.
think it was appropriate for our 5-year-old
Right.
yet.
Well, to each their own, you know.
Yes, I can't wait for her to be ready, for my daughter to be ready, to watch it, because I loved it.
Just one of those movies.
It's nostalgic for me. I don't have nostalgia with many things,
Right.
movie related, but with that movie I do a bit.
No, it's understandable. As do I.
I mean, when I was watching it, I did realize that, like, oh my gosh, like in the beginning, they talk to each other, like all the siblings talk to each other like crap.
Yeah, it's like real life.
I guess in some families.
Come to
But
my
like,
house.
it's like, holy crap, no, I do not want my kid to be talking like that.
Right.
But and also like just like crass things.
Yeah. It's dated.
But no, like the last half an hour, like all the hijinks and slapstickiness.
It's kind of
I
like
thought
Back
it'd
to
be
the
fun,
Future,
but-
where you just have to watch it with the kid and know when to hit, like, jump forward.
Yeah.
Like when we were watching Back to the Future and I paused it and I went to Jen, I'm like, all right, how do I explain date rape to my child?
Right.
Because this is
exactly.
about to happen.
Yeah.
And we just decided, okay, or like terrorists, like the Libyans, like all these different things. It's
Yeah.
like, it's so part of the movie, and skipping it is okay. But that kind of movie, Home Alone, you might want to skip the beginning. Same with Uncle Buck. Like a lot of those movies in the 80s, the kids were mouthy.
Yeah.
and if you're a good parent, it doesn't matter because your kid knows not to talk that way, but which you are.
Yeah,
so
I'm like, I don't see
most of it goes over their head anyway.
Yeah, all the really bad stuff goes over their head.
like,
When he's he opens the Playboy magazine.
Yeah.
And like, okay, my 5-year-old can't even read the word Playboy yet.
Right.
And it doesn't show anything. He just says, not a lick of clothing on anybody. It's terrible, and he throws it. And
but there's like episodes of like cartoons where the character will pick up a magazine and tilt it, and then the inner page will fall out, and you know what they're looking at. But the kid has no idea.
Yeah, the kid has no idea. Yeah, it would go totally over
Like
her.
we watched Ghostbusters with all 4 of my kids, and there were some parts where I was like, especially in the beginning, the character development with Venkman and how he's basically just a scientist to get chicks.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he does a few things. He says a few, like Dan Aykroyd gets a blowjob from
the
from
ghost
a ghost.
beach is
A
really
ghost beach.
questionable.
So it's like those kind of things, you know, they're coming, and you just got to kind of jump forward and like hit the fast forward real quick.
Yeah.
They're going to ask you why you did that, and you say, well, you know, it was skipping or whatever. Like I always just say something.
I'll just say maybe when you're 6.
Maybe when you're 6.
Maybe when you're 7.
Or start it on chapter 2 or 3. Like
Yeah.
before after all that chaos, you get Kevin, and it's a fine movie.
Yeah, especially when he's just like, you know, outsmarting the burglars. Like he's, you know, basically the whole sequence, the whole last half-hour sequence is great.
But the stuff with his brother in the beginning, like they're shitty to each other. All of them are.
Everyone is, but that's kind of the
tells
point.
A story.
You know, I mean, he has to have a good reason to
How
wish
he gets
his
forgotten.
family was gone.
Right.
You know, and he has to. Yeah, I mean that's all there is to it. He has to, you know, feel like a, you know, like he's in the way, like he doesn't belong, or you know, that he's not, you know.
And it's been done cleanly too. Like if you watch Cheaper by the Dozen, or you know, what's the other one that was the Seventh Heaven TV show? Like they show siblings fighting, but it never gets to that point like it is in Home Alone. So I can understand that. You know, my daughter's 4; she won't watch that stuff yet. But my boys were like 6 or 7.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. It was a trip down memory lane for me.
Now, George, you mentioned the parents are out of the. Where did the parents go in Home Alone?
Oh, they went to France.
France.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can I say that watching it this week, I forgot how attractive Catherine O'Hara used to be.
Okay, the
like she was pretty in that movie. Now she's a little bit of a parody of herself. She's kind of a cartoon character, but that movie, and I remember her in Beetlejuice, which is around the same time. She looked weird in Beetlejuice, but in this movie, she was not. She was playing a straight character. She wasn't playing.
Is she the
goofball.
mom?
She's the mom.
Okay.
Usually, she's playing like an over-the-top character, so she a lot of facial expressions, a lot of goofy hair, this and that. But in this movie, she kind of was the straight humor, I guess. Like there wasn't anything wacky about her.
Yeah, I don't think she was funny very very much at all.
I mean, she had a couple funny moments, like with John Candy and stuff. But it's like,
oh, is that Gus?
Yeah,
the polka guy.
Polka.
John Candy.
When I saw him show
John
up,
Candy's our friend.
Right. When I saw John Candy show up on the screen, I didn't know his name, but I knew his face, and I was like, I should know that guy.
Yes,
I recognize that guy. That's a funny guy.
By the time this movie came out, you probably should have seen him in about 10 things.
I'm sure that
Plus,
I have
SCTV.
seen. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I know his face. I know he's been in stuff that I've seen.
He's an icon. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like Bill Murray.
I know just the movie we'll need to watch next Thanksgiving, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I was going to suggest it for this Thanksgiving, but we ran out of time.
Damn it, James Cameron and your True Lies.
I forgot the fucking keys for my fucking car. I love that movie. Like my favorite.
So, George, when you're looking at Home Alone, now, are you as familiar with Home Alone 2? I didn't make you watch both this week because it's a lot of work, I know, to sit there and watch movies without falling asleep.
Home Alone 2.
They go to New York.
I'm aware of that because when Home Alone ended,
it's worth it
on
for
Disney
only one
Plus
reason.
that I was watching it on. It was like my next suggestion was Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, and I was like, oh yeah, that one too. But I don't really remember Lost in New York as much.
It's only worth it for one thing.
The
So-
meme that came out of it?
No.
Because that's a funny meme.
Tim Curry.
Oh, Tim Curry's in
Tim
it?
Curry's the reason to watch the movie. It's
Oh.
basically a rehash of the original, but in
Yeah.
a bustling city. Although the old lady, the Pigeon Woman, is kind of a cool little story, feel good story.
I don't remember it at all. I guess she's kind of like the shovel character in the first one.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
You know what's funny about the shovel character? When I was watching it as a kid, some of the scenes didn't hit me like they hit me now as an adult. And in the church, when he's there to see his granddaughter, I guess when I was a kid, I was like, this scene is boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is going on here? Like, it just
Character building.
totally didn't remember it.
Right.
I thought the way the movie went in my mind was that the dude with the shovel is scary, and then he becomes not scary at the very end,
Right.
when he uses his shovel to
Take care of Marv.
bash the two robbers.
Right.
The whole scene in the church where they like connect totally didn't register in my
Mhm.
brain. Didn't remember it at all.
Yeah, it wasn't written for you.
It was written for 33-year-old me.
It hits hard, man, especially the first time after it's been a while since you've watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of beautiful, man.
And it makes that hug at the end a lot more special.
It was heartwarming.
Yeah. And what's
Yeah.
funny is there's a conspiracy theory online where they're saying that the old man is Kevin from the future. And
I can see it.
He doesn't have a relationship with his kid because of whatever. I didn't even bother listening because it's nowhere near as good as the Wendy theory.
No, yeah, I was thinking
But-
the Wendy theory. Yeah.
But it was interesting there was like 10 or 15 conspiracy theories around this movie, and that was just one of many gems.
Yeah, I'd like to dive deeper into that for sure.
The best one was Marv and Harry are his guardian angels. And that's why they don't get destroyed by all the shit that he does to them, because they're kind of trying to teach him about his wishing his family away. Almost like a Christmas past ghost.
I don't like that one as
Yeah.
much.
It was interesting because it does explain why they are able to basically live the life of Daffy Duck for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I like the other one better.
Two things you should check out when you have some free time, George and Travis, if you haven't seen these yet. One of them is Home Alone with Blood.
Oh.
This guy that does like visual effects. I don't know if he does it professionally and just goofed around with these or if he does it on the side, but basically he recuts a lot of the traps to where they actually kill
Mhm.
Marv or Harry, like first go, you know?
Oh,
That's
wow.
fantastic.
And
Wow.
they're gritty. Like you do
Nice.
not show those to the kids. They are
It's like
real.
watching Saw with
Yeah.
Kevin.
There's a definite
McAllister.
like horror movie
Or-
vibe. They are amazing.
or it's like watching Deadly Games.
Or it's like
Or,
watching
yeah.
Deadly Games, which we'll talk about here in a
Right.
little bit.
Yep.
The other, there's one where like an ER physician broke down how many times each guy died. You know?
Nice.
So it's like,
Yeah.
well, you'd need 11 Marvs and 7 Harrys to be able to get through this movie.
Yeah.
So those are fun if you really want to, warp your children. I forgot I'd shown my kids that video with the doctor because this year they're like, now, doesn't Harry die like 11 times? And my other kid's like, no, it's Marv that dies 11 times. I'm like,
Marv
oops,
dies a lot more.
Oops. And yet we all still wince at the nail on the floor.
The nail, yes.
Ugh.
And the spider scene, which I found out when he screams, he's not screaming when they put the spider on his face. He does that in post.
Oh, that's probably smart.
The
'cause
sound.
that might
Yeah,
freak
when
the
he
spider
screams,
out.
he makes the face because he didn't want to freak the spider out when it's sitting on his face. So,
Yeah, because those spiders can actually, they can't like really hurt you, but like I
it'll
think
hurt. Bite on the face
No,
would hurt.
no, I
yeah.
don't think they bite. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody out there in the ether that knows about tarantulas is going to correct me, and that's fine. I want to know, but it's my understanding that don't they when they get scared or startled, don't they just stick you with their butt hairs?
They fling their body hair. Yes.
Yeah, and the body hair it's kind of like porcupiney little body
Right.
hair. Or
They'll
whatever.
only bite you if they're pressed up against you and they're stuck. They'll bite you.
Okay,
Although sometimes
but
they
a scream would definitely maybe
freak it out.
startle the spider, and
Possibly.
you'd end up with
A scream like that.
spider butt hair on your nose.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
In all likelihood.
So that makes it even funnier because that's like one of my favorite. That and when he gets electrocuted, but the spider on the face scream is pretty.
No, it's
epic.
very, very good.
It's epic.
When does he get electrocuted?
In the basement.
That's in 2.
Oh, is that in 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It all runs
That's
together, right?
that's hilarious.
Okay.
But it's a good gag.
That's probably, they say the sequel always takes it to the next level and it's either really campy or it's actually better. That like he literally
That's
becomes
a
a
good one.
skeleton when he gets electrocuted. It's so obnoxiously like Looney Tunes, but
Yeah.
it's worth the watch.
It balances out the bricks to the face, which are
Yeah.
just gratuitously violent, even in the non-blood version.
But they don't beat the paint cans. The bricks are good, but the paint cans are best
Ugh.
in the first one.
Wonder where those paint cans came from. That's an interesting question.
Hmm.
Yeah. Any idea why a family called the McAllisters, of all places to go in the entire world, would go to France? The mind puzzles, right?
Well, see, the writer had just gotten back from France,
Oh.
and so that's why he decided to send them there.
Well, one of the theories is that Mr. McAllister is actually in organized crime. And that's why he can afford that house and 12 kids and going to France for
But
vacation.
shouldn't they be going to Italy?
I don't know.
Shouldn't they be going
Well, they didn't
to
say mafia. They just said organized crime in
Okay.
general. Like, we don't know what that is. He does get a little squirmy when the cop shows up. Well, when Harry shows up. He says some things that you normally wouldn't say to a cop.
Like what?
What was the one line that was just kind of weird? Kind of made it look like I'd have to go back. But it was a line like it was almost like he was trying to, almost like when Buffalo Bill says, "Are they any closer to cancer?" It was like almost like a I got to throw this guy off kind of thing. It was the kind of line where it's a little questionable.
Yeah, I like conspiracy theory, Travis. This is one of my favorite.
This one has a lot of them. Apparently Elvis is in this movie too.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Finally, something
what's-
I can believe without any kind of question.
If you watch, well, it's been debunked, but in the airport scene where when Mrs. McAllister,
It's been debunked, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway.
because it's fun.
Go ahead. Yeah.
When she's in line and she's trying to buy her plane ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and Polka, what's
Gus.
his name? Gus is behind her. To her left is a bearded extra, and if you look at him, he looks like 41-year-old Elvis, maybe 45-year-old Elvis with a beard.
Okay.
It's already come out that the actor's name, and he does kind of look like Elvis,
Okay.
but it's not him. But if you were watching it, you could picture like women who still have not gotten over him dying in
Yeah, when they watch this movie and they
83 or
go,
whatever it was.
"Holy
they're like, oh my God, it's Elvis. Elvis is in Home Alone.
cool."
Well, speaking of John Candy and deceased musicians, I hear that if you look closely enough, you can see Tupac in Nothing But Trouble.
Really?
But
Well,
he's
he's in the
actually
video.
in Nothing. He's part of Digital Underground at that point. So
Yeah,
Tupac
yeah.
is in that movie legitimately. Don't watch
But
that
was,
movie.
That was
It's not very
before his.
good.
I love that movie.
So bad.
But it is bad. But it's a good Dan Aykroyd movie, and it's got Demi Moore in it, and it's got a great video.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Digital Underground is the shit. That's my
Oh.
wheelhouse.
There you go.
I used to do Humpty Hump all the time. That's my karaoke jam.
Well, then you get
All right,
older,
Stop what you're doing.
and it's just not as fun as it used to be.
Mm-mm. Although I still do that song for karaoke, so it's still that fun.
Oh, the song. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's good. Good song.
bad movie.
Jeez
My
Louise.
favorite karaoke is "Pretty Fly for a White Guy."
Oh,
Can you even
God.
do that song publicly anymore?
I have.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ain't been canceled yet.
Oh, by the way, big shout out to Rich Roccabaldo, who
Yes.
basically called us to
Mr.
do this movie.
Mr. Roccabaldo.
He's like, you have to do Home Alone, and Dan shot him a Robert Redford. I see you. I see you. That's pretty good.
He timed it well.
He did. So this one's going out to The Rock, Richie Rock.
So there's
Longtime friend.
a lot of Home Alone that we're going to discuss as we go forward. Is there any closing thoughts, George, upon revisiting it, now that you've got 69, 70, 75 movies under your belt, newer than the last time you saw Home Alone. Have you seen anything in that movie that's you're like, oh, I never caught that before? Or is it still just like, nah, it's the same movie I watched as a kid?
Well, you mentioned the one thing.
Well, the one thing, yeah, but that's just being older. That's just age.
Yeah, but that's character development that I didn't catch as a kid. So yeah, I mean, like characters are important for a show or for a movie that needs to be interesting to adults as well as kids.
Right.
So, yeah, the characters were more involved than I thought they were when I was a kid. Overall, I think I had a really good foundation for this movie. Like, I had a pretty good understanding of this movie.
Right.
So, not much else, I don't think, really changed.
This is the kind of movie that you should watch one of those YouTube Easter egg videos.
Yeah.
And they point out a lot of, there was stuff that, watching it recently, I noticed, like, the way Chris Columbus basically, in the filming of this movie, shows you, like, some people are like, how did that happen? How did that happen? How did they leave their child? Blah, blah, blah. But when you watch the movie, it shows you the spilling of the soda onto the passports or the boarding passes.
It was
when
milk,
the father throws away the napkins. The one boarding pass he throws away has Kevin written on it.
Yep.
You know, the counting, the head count, the way they do it, you can tell this kid looks like Kevin. Like
I did notice the passport this time as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't as a kid because I didn't know what a passport was. The counting of the heads, from when I was a kid, I thought that was a cool way for them to forget a kid.
Right.
Because there were 6 kids in my family. We were counting heads all the time. Made sense to me that the neighbor's kid would stand in for one of your kids and you could totally forget that you don't have your kid.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, because I mean, growing up, that was always the thing. How does a mom do that? But when you, and they,
I don't know, when you have 17 kids,
right, and they're all running,
it's kind of easy, actually.
Yeah, and we know how frantic.
I mean, who hasn't
airports are?
Who hasn't put their child in timeout and forgotten they were there? Who hasn't done that?
Yeah, and oversleeping changes things too.
Yeah.
The other conspiracy theory is the old man, the uncle, is the reason. Like, it was all a part of the plan. Like, he was working with the guys to make everything happen the way it happened. I don't know. I was watching. I'm like, maybe. I don't know. But I think that's a reach as well. Because he was kind of a douche. You could see why the kids were acting the way they were acting, because the old man was kind of a douche, too.
The old man kind of...
Was he an uncle?
Yeah, the uncle.
Yeah.
Frank.
Kind of seemed...
Uncle Frank.
Frank, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of seemed like another one of the kids.
Yeah.
The way he was acting.
His character is weird for a reason, and I would like to know why. It's not necessary. They've already established why he's left behind. They already established that he has a bad relationship with his brothers, and his parents are kind of write him off, and that's why he wishes they would go away.
Yeah, does the uncle even need to be there at all?
Yeah, so he's there for a reason. I'm not really sure why, but I'm not willing to go down that rabbit hole.
It's probably just because they needed more kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, there's creepy older male characters in both of these movies that we're going to talk about tonight that aren't Home Alone. So you could be like, oh, hey, we got to do creepy guy. Well, let's just make it more bombastic and less, like, touchy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're going to be talking about Deadly Games quite a bit. Now, Deadly Games is also known as Dial Code Santa, Game Over, 3615 Code Père Noël, Hide and Freak Out or something. It's got a million names. But what you'll find is that it's usually called either Dial Code Santa or Deadly Games. It is 1989, so it predates Home Alone. Movie that is essentially designed to be a Rambo parody. Like, what if Richie Rich watched too many Rambo movies and felt like kicking some ass?
Yeah. I
did not prepare either of you for what you were getting into with this movie. How are y'all hanging on there?
Well,
who wants to go first?
How many beers are you into this, George?
I'm 2 beers into this.
You're 2 in already?
Yes. Wow. And I might about to be more.
And Travis, I know that there's no English audio, so you're stuck with subs. How'd you do? Did you enjoy it? There's not a ton of dialogue, so it's not like the most intensive.
My first note was I got excited in the very beginning because the first amount of dialogue was in English. Because when the fan was blowing on the kid and he was in his plane. I guess he was listening to a movie.
He was listening to like war recordings
movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is overdubbed. Sweet. I won't have to read anything. And then that went away. But honestly, it was fine. I did not mind. The only reason I didn't like reading in this movie is because the people in the movie were doing a lot of things, and I wanted to watch them.
The acting is pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, it was pissing me off because I wanted to see what they were doing, but I also wanted to obviously read what they were saying. But I kept getting caught up in their faces, and I kept not reading what was going on. That was my only complaint.
See, I kept having to write notes in my phone because that's how I keep track of stuff on like a little note in my phone. And I can't type and look at my screen and read subtitles at the same time.
Right.
So that was a little annoying, but I get through it.
I think this movie is what I expected from road games.
Interesting.
And that's why,
road games.
That's why this movie didn't bother me as much, because this is what once I got into it, I realized, yes, this is what it should be.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because, like, you hated road games.
Yeah. But I didn't hate road games.
I liked road games.
I hated parts of road games. Now, there were parts of this movie that I obviously had issues with.
Guys, there's a music video in the middle of this movie, and I still don't know why.
Yeah. I was on board at least for the first hour, all in. And then once the traps started happening, that's when I was like, come on.
Okay. I did not like this movie at all.
No, I know.
And there were some parts about it that were they had some redeeming qualities. There were little things where I thought when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, that's good. I like that. Ooh, that's good. I like that." But that happened about a half a dozen times, and those things were just little scenes, little
far between.
Yeah, little things. For the most part, I just this was brutal to watch for me. I mean, I can give you a couple of examples, but I don't know. Do you want me to do notes or no?
Is your first note, this kid's mullet is the craziest mullet I've ever seen?
I wrote that down.
No, I didn't. Well,
I wrote down that mullet.
No, I didn't notate anything about the mullet.
Did you notate anything about the odd Rambo muscle breakdown at the beginning where he's like working out to get his Rambo muscles up?
I mean, he's obviously...
And the Rocky music.
Yeah, the fake Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
French Christmas Eye of the Tiger.
Yep.
Dude.
Well, Dan, are you looking over my shoulder?
I think that you and I, Travis, finally connected on a movie that we didn't expect to. This movie's awesome and crazy.
I wrote Rambo, Rocky montage. I wrote the dog walking is right out of The Omen.
Yes, yes.
I wrote that mullet. Then I wrote Mom is hot. And then I didn't write anything.
We have a theme going here.
Yeah, and then I didn't write anything
movie.
for a while. And that's because this was the Santa character that I expected should have been, if you go back to our Silent Night, Deadly Night episode, I said, give me a Santa that's fucking nuts, and then I'll understand. Like, give me the backstory of the guy that kills that woman in the street. That's this.
Hi, this is Dan in Post. We're about to get a little spoilery with a movie you've probably not seen, and so this is the time where I'd caution you and say, hey, it's on Shudder. You can do a free trial if you don't already subscribe to Shudder. Check this movie out, and then pick up right here because we're about to get plot heavy. But if you're a wild person, just stick around. We're about to get crazy.
Why? This guy, I don't feel has a proper motivation for doing what he did.
He doesn't, but he's creepy enough to where they establish early enough that he's like, you're thinking, all right, this guy just wants to play with these kids. And then as soon as he starts playing, they run. And it's like, okay, this guy's obviously got issues, and they know it. They're like cats. They read it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yeah, they did rush to his motive, which bothered me because getting fired is not a reason to go kill some woman's kid.
Right.
Like, there should have been more to that, although they kind of...
And especially after you just slapped a customer.
Right, but I think they were playing off of the fact that he was talking to him on the computer, and he told him who his mother was.
Yeah.
Right.
So he went and worked for her on purpose to get more information on this kid. So the
Yep.
motive is deeper.
Right.
It's there, but a better filmmaker and a better script would have hashed that out more. So I'm being less Travis, more lenient when it comes to that, because that was one of my issues. It escalated quickly. I was like, holy shit, he's doing this. But if you think of the creep factor, the pedophile factor, the child killer factor, and the fact that he was nuts, and he played it well. Like, I liked this guy a lot more than I liked the killer in Road Games. I liked this guy. He had a lot of qualities visually. He was doing a lot of, like, right up to when because I wrote it down. Holy shit. That's all I wrote. Holy shit.
Is that when he killed the dog?
That's when he killed the dog.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. That was my only, because just showing him sitting there, the spray painting of the face I loved that. Like, there was just a lot of cool things that he could have been more campy, but he wasn't. But then once they got into, after he killed the dog, a lot of the other things, spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you like animals,
Ooh,
this movie is not for you, man.
Yeah, this movie
No.
should come with a minor trigger warning for animal violence.
It really should.
He
I'm
stabs
not
the
even
hell
kidding.
out of that dog. Which,
well, not just that, he's kicking it when it's biting at his
yeah,
clothes.
it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's the moment you're like, this isn't a kid's movie. This is a grown-ups movie. Why is this a grown-ups movie? I'm not sure.
I don't think the French has regulations, people on staff, that make sure you don't hurt animals, because that dog, when it fell into the trap door onto the net,
Yeah.
when they zoom in on that dog's shaking.
Yep.
So I remember Men in Black got in trouble for one thing they did with an animal. I don't think anybody was on set for this movie.
Can I also the scene? I believe it's after the very underwhelming monologue from Thomas over the loudspeakers that he's installed in his house about how he's going to make Santa scared or something. Right.
Kind of shades of, this is my house, I have to defend it.
This is my house. I have to defend it.
And this is it, don't get scared now. And
This is it. Don't get scared now.
I'm over here, you big horse's ass.
Down here, you big horse's ass. Come and get me before I call the police.
That kind of verbal taunting really doesn't happen much in the movie, but it does in very specific points of Home Alone. Maybe a relic of some of that interaction in Deadly Games.
I think it was right after that where he's having basically a small funeral for the dog. Right. He carries the dog down to the
Which didn't make
whatever
sense.
and blah 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 blah. But the dog was sedated so heavily.
His tongue was hanging out.
His tongue was fucking hanging out of his head. And I was like, yo, the French know how to make animals act, bro. I was like, this dog
there was no rewarding that animal
this
for his
dog
behavior.
should win an Oscar for his performance in this movie.
That
was
dog
more
is
dead.
method.
He was
yes, for real.
That dog was more dead than Annie in Halloween. Like,
Yeah, for real.
Oh my
he was done.
Oh man.
I had an issue with him carrying it. They should have had him put it on a sheet and drag it, because
Now
him
there's
having that chair leg as a splint
that
was
weird.
It was weird, but it made sense. Like, to me, I was just like, okay, they need this kid's more badass than I ever was, and I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Like, they have to slow him down somehow. So,
Yeah.
But
Also, there's a conspiracy theory. I was looking on the internet.
was Wendy there?
That in that scene, when he kills the dog, he actually kills the dog.
It looks
in
like
that
it.
in that scene, and
I'll never look at a pie knife the same way again.
And
Holy shit!
And when Thomas is carrying the dog to his grave, the dog is actually dead.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy that I found on the internet.
I don't know if it's a conspiracy. It could be true.
Yeah.
I watched an interview with the director last week when I was doing research for this, and on the Vinegar Syndrome release, it's like an 1.5-hour interview with this guy. It was a lot of fun. He talked about how he actually stood in as the double for the dog scene, which, I mean, that's what Argento always does is, he'll have people that play the black-gloved killer and stuff, but when it comes time for the murder scene, it's always Argento because he knows how he wants it to be blocked. So on this one, he did the dog stab stuff because he knew that if it was the trainer, that the dog wouldn't act like scared. It would act like it was playing with the trainer.
So what you're saying is he really stabbed that fucking dog?
No, it's a forced perspective shot. It's a miss.
What it looked like.
Pause it. It's a miss. Thank God. But it's brutal, man, and the sound effect is I mean, it's for being a quirky movie that I still don't know who the intended audience is. The technical aspects of this movie in general are better than they should be.
And the other thing that's not really explained, and it reminded me of An American Werewolf in London, when we kind of assumed, okay, the woman collects Americana, basically, and she collected David as like her best piece, best American piece. This kid, they never really established, he's an American. This child is so American, yet he's French, and his mom is uber French, and she's like bourgeois. But I'm thinking to myself, it would have been a cool thing to establish that maybe his dad was an American.
Like that his dad was like Jackie Chan?
Maybe.
Or something.
I don't know. But it just would have explained his love for Americana, because like in his bedroom when they were running around the house.
It was like G.I. Joe.
He had a shit ton of, like, he had Critters, Commando, Rambo. Like, he had all kinds of American shit on his wall. And then when he goes into his toy lair, which I wrote down.
Oh, Narnia?
Yeah, Narnia. I wrote down, I can relate to the toy horde. Like, that's what my basement looks like.
I love how, like, when Travis goes to read his notes, he, like, his face gets, like, away from the mic so you can't hear him.
Suck.
You can tell when he's reading because his voice.
Yeah, because the paper's there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right. I'm terrible. I'm not a trained radio person.
No, but check it out. Narnia, right?
He had Castle Grayskull and stuff down there.
Freezer on one side, freezer door.
Mm-hmm.
Wardrobe.
Okay.
Right.
So maybe that's right out of the book.
Dude. Side by side, the Santa Claus from this movie and Mr. Tumnus.
From Narnia?
I was looking on the internet, and there was a conspiracy theory that the Santa Claus in this movie is the same actor that plays Mr. Tumnus in the Narnia movie.
Okay.
The actor that plays Santa Claus, his performance reminds me a lot of the guy. Who's the guy that played the Precious's guy in Lord of the Rings? I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy.
Ah, yeah. Schmeagol.
Who's the actor that plays him? Because he's a real good actor, but he does a lot of good face work. And I felt like this actor, his performance reminded me of a performance you would see from that guy that was in Lord of the Rings. That as a movie guy, I'm supposed to know, but I don't like those movies.
Well, he plays all the apes too. He played Kong. He played
and he was in one of the Captain America movies for like 2 minutes, and they killed him.
No, he was in Black Panther.
Oh, okay. He was in Black Panther for like 2 minutes, and they killed him. And I was like, what?
He was in Age of Ultron.
We should really
Andy Serkis.
Pause for a second. Oh, is that his name?
It just popped in my head.
There you go.
I did not look it up. George can confirm.
No, he did not. He was not looking at his phone. If he was, you'd be able to tell because his voice would have went away like this and then came back. Okay.
But yeah, Andy Serkis. His performance, the performance of the guy that played Santa Claus reminded me a lot of Andy Serkis. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you're on the fence, do I see this movie or not? If you want to see Andy Serkis playing a crazed child killing Santa Claus on a mission.
It's
He
not
actually-
Andy
yeah,
Serkis,
slow down.
but
He reminded me a lot of the serial killer in Dirty Harry,
yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah,
and with a beard.
yeah, of course.
The not
But
Zodiac,
he had that
right?
same frantic, crazy eyes, but he wasn't overdoing it like the guy in Dirty Harry. Like he was playing it pretty close to the vest until the very end. That's when I checked out. I was like,
At
okay.
the very end when he was like, "Garbage day."
No, when he suggested playing hide and seek, and now he was it. I'm like, wait, what is that? I didn't understand that. That was not explained enough.
Well, he just wants to play with the kids. That's the point.
Yeah, but
And he's like, "You're gonna play with me, or I'm gonna kill you."
okay, but he should have said that.
Maybe it's
He
on the
should've said
cutting
that.
room floor somewhere.
Maybe because
So-
it just sounded weird. Because then he yelled that he was cheating. Like
See,
It got goofy.
I won't go as far as to say that I liked that, but when it turned to that, I understood why,
right.
and it wasn't explained explicitly. When it is explained explicitly, it actually is a little bit insulting, I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
Like for instance, when they're in the hallway, Thomas and Santa Claus,
Santa.
and Santa is moving towards him, and he gets the idea to use the trapdoor
Mm-hmm.
for that, and the camera goes back to this flashback of
Of the dog.
him trapping the dog in the
Mhm.
trapdoor, and then it happens, and then he does it on Santa. It's like,
That wasn't necessary.
that was an insult to my intelligence,
Right.
because I recognize this hallway.
Mm-hmm.
It's lined with plants. It's a very specific hallway. It's like his Vietnam,
Yeah.
basically. And as a viewer, you should know that there's a fucking trapdoor in
Right.
that hallway.
Now,
And when he uses it, either you are surprised that, oh, duh, he's got a trapdoor, or you're like me and you're like, he's got a trapdoor, and then he uses it. But I said, he's got a trapdoor, he's going to use it. And then they showed the dog falling into it, and then they showed
right.
Santa falling into it, and I'm like, I'm not that stupid,
Now, I'll
guys.
give you a movie that I wrote down right when that happened that does it right.
Okay.
When you watch the movie Predator
Mm-hmm.
and Schwarzenegger's building, Dutch is building all the traps before he goes after him.
Yep.
He makes that little cubby and he carves the sticks and he makes that trap. Later in the movie, towards the end, he's crawling for his life, basically. This predator is beating him down to a pulp,
Mm-hmm.
and he's crawling on all fours, and then he starts crawling towards that trap.
Mm-hmm.
They slightly show you when he goes over the stick that he clearly set up as a tripwire.
Mm-hmm.
Dutch sees that and goes through the trap, and they slightly show the sticks that were carved.
Mm-hmm.
They don't flash back to when he was carving it. They
No.
don't do any of that.
No, if you caught
know.
the shaved stick,
Right.
you knew exactly what
You
was
knew
coming.
what he was doing.
And if you didn't catch the shaved stick, then you were surprised.
Right. And then they pay that off by
Right.
when the predator goes towards him into the trap, he leans in and his hand taps the pointy sticks.
Yeah.
And because he's a smart hunter, he looks at them and realizes what it is and then goes around.
Right.
So you have a no shit moment because you're like, he built a trap. It ain't going to work. This
Yeah.
thing's smarter than you think.
This thing's really, it's kind of the smartest fucking thing.
What's that?
The Predator.
Well, yeah,
It's like,
but it's that same exact scene. Like this
Yeah,
movie,
no,
when I
yeah,
was
yeah.
watching this movie, I was like, "That's right out of the Predator," which came out in '87. So they might have stolen that from.
They might have borrowed.
from-
Well, the
might
whole
have borrowed
movie
no,
is just
Dan will find an earlier European version of
an
that.
'86 movie
Yeah,
called Prey.
no.
There's
This
one.
whole movie, we can watch 1981's Prey if you want to. That's a fun one. Nothing to do with any of these movies, but certainly a good
Right.
time. The thing about Deadly Games is it is intentionally aping on American action cinema. So,
Right.
of course, it's pulling from Predator, it's pulling from Rambo,
Yes.
it's pulling from all these. If you notice in his room, he's got like a poster for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 next to Lucio Fulci's
Yeah.
Conquest with a Schwarzenegger as, I think, Terminator poster. Like, They're
And
going
critters.
for a
Like,
thing.
Who the hell has critters on the wall?
What I don't get though, who is this movie for? And I
Right.
think the first time I
You.
watched this last year,
Yeah, you, bro.
the first time I watched it, I was just like, this movie is almost useless because I don't know many adults who are going to sit through kind of that stuff you were describing with the trapdoor, where it's like obviously for a kid's benefit, right? Like a lower
Right.
level viewer. But then he fucking stabs a dog. Like this isn't
Yeah.
a kid's movie.
Well, it's French.
It's
They have
French.
different- they have
It's
different,
French.
I don't want to say standards, but they might have different way of. I mean, I don't know. But you're right. It almost has a Home Alone feel with a little bit of Texas Chainsaw.
It's
Like,
very
it's-
strange.
Yeah. It's strange for a kid that young. And his parents, we don't know his dad, but his mom seems pretty involved
what,
but uninvolved.
What do we know about his dad?
We don't know enough. We know that he is no longer there.
Was he a military man?
We don't know.
Because I thought I saw dog tags
He had
with
dog
his name.
tags, but
Was
the
that
kid
his
was
dad?
wearing those.
But were
They might have
they
been his
his
dad's.
or were they his dad's? Is
yeah,
he
maybe
named
that's
after his
maybe
dad?
that's why he's replaying all those war things in his house.
That's
'cause
what I kind of
yeah.
pulled from it. Like I figured that's what. Dude, I have my granddad's dog tags
Mhm.
from when he was in the Navy. So like, I don't know. I think that might
maybe
have
that's
been.
his connection to his dad, is he's replaying all these war things.
Yeah.
And maybe his dad was a big Rambo fan.
It would be funny if he was like an upside down Roger Waters from The Wall, who instead of becoming like a pacifist disgusted by war after his father's killed in war, instead he just becomes like the murder kid.
Like, to me, I was like, I don't know many. What was he, 8?
I don't know. Yeah.
8-year-olds,
that.
7-year-olds, 9-year-olds.
Actually, no. The movies are running together. I don't think you know how old he is.
But he shouldn't have that much.
Kevin McAllister was
yeah,
8.
he shouldn't have that much reference to Rambo, to where he's sharpening his knife and flexing his muscles, which was a little creepy.
Yeah.
And, the bandana and the face paint from Commando, like all these things that were just so 80s.
Yeah.
There's something there that they could have really given us, almost like Bruce Wayne type flashbacks from Dark Knight, or from Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he has those flashbacks with his dad, you really learn shit about, I wanted to say Bruce Wayne. What's his
Thomas
father's name?
Wayne.
Thomas Wayne. You learn a lot about Thomas Wayne from those little, why do we fall
Right.
to pick ourselves up, kind of just those little dad moments that
Mhm.
would have been really cool in this movie to see why this kid, obviously he's dealing with the trauma of losing his dad, and that's why he's a
Or,
little unhinged.
the other thing that they might be going for is to take like a critical look at the effect of violent media on children and just be like, yeah,
Right.
this kid's dad's gone, so in his dad's place he's got Hollywood, and look how he turns out.
But he's also kind of a Peter Parker genius.
Well, I mean, and he ends up saving the day, so I mean,
Yeah.
spoiler
Like,
alert for a
he's
movie.
building shit in his basement that either his mom completely has no idea what he's doing, or she's the most supportive person on the planet. Like, he built a lair, basically a bat cave in the basement. And I don't know, uber smart, this kid.
And he plays tabletop, which I'm a big
Mm.
fan of. That's probably
He's
one
got
of
an
my
old
favorite
Mac.
scenes of the movie is playing tabletop games with his grandpa, and then the really cool shot where later on he's framed as the same height as the tabletop pieces.
Mm.
That was a really cool cinematography moment.
And the grandfather, I
There
kept
were-
having a Willy Wonka moment. Like,
Oh, dude, I made
Yeah.
that note.
Yep,
yeah,
he's got a
He's
Grandpa,
Grandpa
Joe,
Joe.
vibe.
yeah, Grandpa Joe.
He is Grandpa Joe.
Yeah.
And he can't see for
It's
shit,
not that
bro.
bad of a movie.
He
I
can't
do
see
have to
for
say.
shit, man. He's like,
No, you couldn't see.
he's legally
I thought he was going to shoot
blind.
I thought he was going to shoot his grandson when it was all blurry like that.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
mean,
tension, man.
that's-
You gotta
yes.
wonder.
why it's there, yeah.
And I thought at some point they were going to I kept having like vibes of other movies where I'm thinking her boyfriend is involved somehow.
He did seem
He seemed a
creepy, but
little
ended up not
yeah.
just being a red herring,
Yeah,
I guess.
That's
was just
from
French.
watching so many movies. Yeah.
He was just French, yeah. He's just French.
Sorry,
I was-
Stefan.
I was getting Ghost vibes from that guy. The movie Ghost, which we probably won't watch on the show.
Yeah,
Have you
we
seen
might.
Ghost?
I mean, it's got sexy pottery,
No.
so what's up?
That's true. Was it?
Hey, George, have you ever heard of Minitel?
Who?
The internet service that was before the World Wide Web that they were using,
Oh,
the whole
yeah,
basis
yeah,
of
yeah.
the interaction.
No,
at the beginning.
I have not. No, I had not
It's
heard of that.
it's really interesting. if only because one of the alternate titles of the movie is 3615 Code Père Noël. And the reason it is that is because that was the prefix you would dial to get to different services on Minitel, which was an old pre-internet thing. So it's kind of equivalent to like the www
Right.
that you put at the beginning of websites now. It's just back then it was 3615 and then whatever you were going to. Part of the
Gotcha.
background interviews with the director, he talked about how his idea for this movie came from trying to buy, I think, flowers for his wife and accidentally ending up on like a porn type situation and being
Yeah,
like, man,
sure,
kids could be on here
accidentally.
looking for something and end up.
Well, yeah, they touch on that really fast. Like, I was looking at that, I was like, this guy is like in an airport or a library, and he's trying to pick up children
Right.
on the computer.
Ooh.
I was just like, damn, that's creepy.
It could be a kinky message board for weirdos.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines in the
weirdos, yeah.
movie. For weirdos. That
Crap
kid was
my
kinda
ass.
Crap my ass.
Crap my ass!
Right. Oh, crap.
I also
my
said
ass.
I had a John Wick vibe here from this little kid.
Yeah.
When they killed his dog, he lost his fucking mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a John Wick. Yeah. Yeah. And then Les Paul violence. George, did that make you sad like it made me sad?
Not really.
Mm.
You're not a Les Paul guy.
Was it a real Les Paul? Even
I slowed it down pretty good. It looked like a Gibson headstock, and it looked like he didn't
watched
make
it like
contact.
the Zapruder film. He's like back and to the left.
Yeah, no, I did. I went
That
frame by
Gibson.
frame because I wanted to see
Zapruder films.
the
Jackie
distinct.
O's got blood all over her. She's picking
So.
up the pieces of Les Paul off the trunk of the car.
I looked at the headstock, and it looked like a Gibson headstock, and it also looked like they cut short of any actual contact. So if it was, it looked like a custom.
It's
So
all CGI.
You know what?
It's false
Even
news.
though they stopped short of contact, just the force of that body going forward, and then
I know.
then the actor using the neck to stop that inertia
Hold on.
definitely snapped the headstock.
Hold on. Check,
on it.
check, please. Check. They gave more care to a fucking guitar than they did that dog.
Yeah, basically.
Guitar
Because
probably
that
costs more
dog-
money.
Oh my god, that dog took some shit, man. That dog's
I
still
feel
in
bad for
rehab.
that dog. I mean, obviously, this is the dog's long dead, but
I don't know.
if he wasn't, I would want to adopt that dog just to like treat
Give
him
him,
like a
like-
king
yeah,
because he deserves that for the rest of his life.
right.
Deserves to be treated like a
Oh
king.
my god, that poor dog. Just to see him shaking in that trap door, he's like,
Yeah.
No one can see you.
I know,
but
I did that for you. That's for our YouTube channel, right?
So-
I just did the shake. I did a shake on the radio. I'm an idiot.
he looked like what's his name getting electrocuted in Home Alone 2.
Yeah, I turned into a skeleton. Crazy.
Holy
That
moly.
was for our
Shoot.
That's for our Patreon. That we don't
Yeah.
have.
Well, you know, it'll be debatable how much of this movie really directly ended up in Home Alone. There's some key points that you can point to and be like, oh, okay, that shot is in Home Alone, only it's a pizza truck and not a delivery van. Like bunch of little weird shots that you're just like, oh, that was a weird shot in Home Alone. I guess that might be why that's there. But dude, tonally, I think Home Alone is a bit more consistent.
Yeah.
A bit more mainstream for an American audience. My God, that poor puppy dog.
It's kind of the same example as when we talked about Halloween. Like, Carpenter took, obviously, he denies it, but he took inspiration from other films that were not as successful and not as streamlined and not as branding. And he did the three things that they didn't have.
Right.
And he created, and this kind of movie makes me appreciate Halloween even more. Because whoever, I didn't even bother to look up who the director of this movie was.
Rene
But-
Manzour.
Okay, well he had some nuanced moments with the Santa Claus character. There was a few really cool shots.
There were some cool
perspective shots. You know, you can tell his influences. I wouldn't be able to tell you their names, but you can tell he's been influenced because there's, like you said, it's all over the place. There's like, it's almost like Road Games where that opening scene had all that nuance and all that, you know, artistic photography, and then you get Vacation.
I like road games.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like they blew their load on that front scene where you're like, oh, this is going to be really artsy and really cool, and then they don't do it again. With this, they did the same thing. There's like almost like 3 or 4 different directors filmed this movie, and you can see who is putting in their their artist eye. Halloween to me could have been like this. It could have been a mess. It could have been a failure, but because Carpenter knew how to streamline what in that story, everything in there, like we said, every shot in that movie is a poster. Every scene
Carpenter
is
did a good job, man. He really did.
We're really breaking new ground on this episode. John Carpenter, good at movies.
He did a good ass job on that movie, bro.
This brings it up more because this movie is Halloween in France.
Hey,
in a way,
say what you want about how Kevin
Christmas?
McAllister treated Harry and Marv, but he never built an IED.
Right.
It's true.
Jeez
On a
Louise.
toy train, which was pretty sweet. Although, was Santa Claus aiming that train at the suit of armor, or was he just like they kind of were implying that, but then they weren't. I don't think that guy was smart enough.
I think again he was excited that a kid was playing with him, and he was trying to play with the kid.
Yeah.
Ugh. It was creepy.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of blech in this movie.
I like him a lot more than Silent Night, Deadly Night.
All right, so this movie, for me was disturbing in ways that movies generally aren't. For me.
Okay.
I don't get disturbed easily, and this was disturbing.
There's something they talk about with horror directors, especially, the greats, right? If you're watching an Alfred Hitchcock picture, you can kind of trust that he's going to bring you to the line, but that's where it's going to stop because he respects you as an audience. He understands your values. When you start watching movies from other countries and, lesser known and more kind of daring filmmakers, they may not take you over that line, but they're going to hit that line a lot faster to where you think, oh, God, like, how far is this movie going to go?
Like jamming a pie knife in the dog's neck.
And sometimes they might go over the line.
And this movie really does have moments that are going to make you feel that, like, ooh, feeling. Like, do I trust this guy not to get gross? And
no.
I don't know that you should trust this guy not to get gross.
That's
he
why.
Was playing that shit.
That's how I felt.
Perfect.
It's not just the character, but the director.
Right.
Like, he's like, can I trust this director to not go there? And it's like, I don't know if I can.
You can't because
he just killed a fucking dog.
Well, not even that. Like, the opening montage, he's showing you the glistening, sweaty muscles of a 9-year-old.
That too.
Like, I'm like, where is this movie going and why am I watching it?
I don't know. Hey, so, George, tell me, are you a Bonnie Tyler fan?
Bonnie Tyler.
Total Eclipse of the Heart?
Is this another guitar?
I know that song. No, I'm not a Bonnie Tyler fan.
So that is the lady who sings the Merry Christmas song that is like a music video contained within this movie.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Happy Birthday Christmas might be my favorite line in the movie because what?
Yeah.
What?
See, I didn't even think to write that down, but I did think to write down the Creedence Clearwater song. The Midnight Special.
Yeah.
Because that's reference to something we're going to be watching in a couple weeks.
Dan, did you notice that in our group chat that you said Happy Birthday Christmas? And then about like a half an hour later, I liked it.
Yes.
That was when it was playing on the TV.
Hilarious. Yeah, I didn't know if you would have. I wasn't going to belabor it. I just threw it out there because I love that line. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And the music from that song, Merry Christmas, toward the end when it gets kind of instrumental and kind of twinkly, it's in the same key as the song Still Alive from Portal, the video game. Which, if you haven't played Portal, you don't know what I'm talking about. But it was a really popular pop culture nerd moment for like 6 weeks in like 2003. And
there's conventions for it.
No, they sold millions of copies of that game, and everybody was into it for like 5 seconds. It made it into Rock Band. You can play the Still Alive song in Rock Band.
Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
that song, those 5 people, they don't go to Comic-Con. They go to Portal.
They go
Con.
to they go to
Portal
like
Con.
Meta
Yeah.
Comic-Con.
Where
It's
my
at the Dunkin'
nerds
Donuts.
at? Put these guys in their place.
It's only
Still
yeah,
Alive.
it's for-
The Portal
Con is
song.
at the Wawa.
Same key, same kind of vibe. So it gives you like a Still Alive vibe. It's weird.
Sure.
Doesn't belong in this movie. But it's fun.
There's a lot that doesn't belong in this movie.
Yeah.
But it's kind of why it works, because it doesn't work. Like, it is
Right.
such an odd attempt to make a movie for I don't know who, with parts that do not fit together, but yet there's some real shit in this movie that's worth seeing at least once. I don't know if this is a buy for me. Like, I don't know if this is one that I can say, hey, everybody, go buy this movie. Like, it's not New York Ninja, right? This one's
No,
got a bit more like
absolutely
hesitance in that. But it's worth a stream.
I got news for you. New York Ninja's not a buy either.
Hey.
Apparently, people are paying $40 for it.
My copy just showed up, guys. I'm super excited.
We should make a movie if people are going to pay $40 for it. Shit. Let's remake Deadly Games with everybody from Clerks.
I'm not
Yeah,
even
you
supposed
you
to
still-
be Santa today.
yeah, yeah.
We'll call
Oh,
it
man.
butt work.
So a
It'd be
couple of
funny
shots from the movie that I wanted to point out to George. See if these ring any bells. I don't know how visually attached to Home Alone you are. I watch it like 3 times a year because I have kids.
Wait, before
who
you
love
get
it.
into this, can we explain? Can you explain to me one of the biggest holes in the movie?
I give it a shot.
Okay, it's a friggin' mansion, right? It's so
It's a
big
castle.
that they had to build a model of it.
Yeah,
to
all
show
of
the exteriors.
all of the shots of the model of
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Not, I mean, they're presenting this model as if it's the house, kind of
right.
like in a like a Star Wars fashion. How like
Yeah,
all of
it's
the
a
things
scale
were
model.
models.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could definitely tell it was a model.
Yes, it wasn't lit correctly. You could tell it was
So,
a scale model.
It is
Also-
it's a real chateau. It's a real castle. Like, because it's
Right.
it's France. They have castles.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
they could not afford the helicopter to do the aerial shots. So the purpose of
Gotcha.
the
Yeah.
model was just to give you an aerial shot of a building that does actually exist. So
Okay, so from what I noticed from the exteriors, was the chimneys in this house are at least 100 feet tall.
Mm,
What chimney did he come down?
he needed a big long rope.
the
Yeah,
main,
I'm
the
like-
main one.
I'm like, first of all, he's not gonna come through a chimney. He's a
No,
He's a
he-
child
he
molester.
has
Well,
to.
I think there is.
He's
I think they're
Santa
trying to play up the fact that he wants to actually be Santa. You know, there's some ambition there that he's actually going
Yeah.
to somehow usurp
He's
the
doing the work.
throne of Santa. The shot of him like misty-eyed, painted up like Santa sitting in that rocking chair, like
It was great. I love that scene.
it's so good, but like, it's so gross. Like he's
It
really
makes me wanna
effective
grow
as
a
an
beard
actor.
to get some snow paint.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Yikes.
He was definitely good. I liked him. I liked him a lot. I just didn't like some of the things towards the end, but I like this a lot more than some other things.
So, George, a
George
couple of
hated it.
shots. I talked about it earlier. The delivery van pulls up in like a really aggressive fashion toward the house. And it's shot
Yeah.
very similar to how that Nero's Pizza.
The pizza guy. Yeah, the
showing
pizza guy
up.
hits the
Mm.
statue every time.
And then later
Yeah.
they have the parents drive in the same kind of shot. And it's just like, wow,
Yep.
that's a weird shot to borrow for a movie or a coincidence. But like, it's weird.
They also borrowed heavily from The Shining.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The art gallery
Yep.
shots
Yeah.
were so
There's
shining.
a lot of Shining in this
Oh, I
movie.
was thinking the field, the field
tree
of Christmas
field,
tree.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's a hedge maze.
Yeah.
So cool. This is a good
Yeah.
movie. I don't know if it's a good movie. This is a fun movie to watch once with your friends. I wouldn't watch it alone. I'd probably watch this with a group of people.
Yeah, you don't know wallow and watch this.
This is a mystery science theater type movie.
Yeah. No, it would definitely be fun.
Definitely watch it with a friend that's got a
Plan
good sense
9.
of humor and
This is a drinking game movie. Like every time A, B, or C happens.
Yeah,
we
like-
do this. Yeah.
Do you guys watch Community at all? I know it's come up before.
I've seen a couple of.
I've seen
They-
it.
In the show, they all get together and they watch this movie Kick Puncher.
Hmm.
Are you familiar?
It's a real
This-
movie.
No,
Oh, okay.
the superhero in this movie has punches that are the strength of kicks.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a good movie. Anyways, they get together and they watch this bad movie and they make fun of it the whole time. And this
Right.
is like a thing that they do in the show. Do that with this.
Yes.
Or New York
Great-
Ninja.
great-
That actually is how
New
you
York
should
Ninja.
watch New York Ninja as well.
Yeah.
Drunken with friends.
Yes.
Definitely. I didn't watch this movie as the movie we were watching. I watched this as we were going to reference it when talking about Home Alone.
Yeah.
Or we were going to reference Home Alone while talking about this. So I understand that we're going way off of our agenda or our syllabus
Yeah.
when watching a movie like this, but it at least makes sense when we're referencing a movie that's so mainstream like Home Alone. Because when I watched this movie, it came up as 1990. It didn't come up as 89. So on Shudder, it came up as it was a 1990 movie.
I think
So
it
it's the
played
same year as Home Alone.
Can. Am I supposed to say con? I feel like I'm supposed to say con.
Con.
It played
Yeah, it's
can.
Con.
It played cans. Can
Cans.
is. It played at the can is.
Cannaise.
In 1989, and then it had an official release in 1990 in France.
Okay.
But the background rumor mill says that basically it played at Cannes, played at Cannes. An American producer was like, "Hey, we're gonna remake your movie. Is that cool?" And he was like, "We'll talk about it." And then before he got that deal done, mysteriously this movie popped up called Home Alone that made all the money, and then
Mm.
nobody wanted to remake his movie anymore.
Fuck.
Which is
Fair
the
play.
danger of a film festival, right?
Yeah. Yeah, people take your ideas.
Because
Definitely.
I mean, you know,
I made a movie called 12 Fanboy. And
I made a movie called 11 Monkeys.
Jeez Louise. A couple of other shots that you might have noticed, George. Now, more of a Home Alone 2 vibe, but the Duncan's Toy
Yeah.
Chest store in Home Alone 2, very similar
Travis
to
is
the
still laughing.
the toy store in Deadly Games.
Travis is still laughing. Let me let him catch up.
He actually quit
11
laughing a while
monkeys.
ago, but then he went back in time,
Wow.
and now this is him.
Yeah.
Are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm slobbered. Hold
Okay,
on.
something
Hold on.
about a toy store. Go ahead, Dan.
Duncan's Toy Chest, the main toy store that features heavily
Mhm.
in Home Alone 2. Very similar to the toy store that is run by the mother here. Interesting that he has a direct relationship with Duncan in Home
Okay.
Alone 2, and he has his mother in this one. Kind of an interesting thing.
Okay.
I still don't get, why are the McAllisters going to France of all places? I can only think of one reason, but it seems pretty cynical.
What is the reason?
Because this movie is French, and they're ripping off a
They're-
French movie, so they're like,
They're
hey,
going there to
France.
steal the movie.
He's
Oh,
like,
I wasn't sure if you were
"Yo."
like making a connection where like
French
Mr.
fries.
McAllister's brother is Santa. And
No,
there's
no,
like a family
no.
connection there, or the kid is related to them.
And one thing that's interesting with the progression of this Santa character in this movie is he goes from a brown beard to a white beard, which happens to
Mhm.
Marv, the bearded bad guy, in Home Alone 2. But also his face degrades as he fights. Like he gets kind of beat up like a video game boss. Again, this movie also, we should probably point out, is kind of structured like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really talk about that, but we should have. Because it's like a boss battle, right? And as he goes, he starts to, like, his face gets all torn up. And if you look at a picture of torn up face Santa versus torn up face at the end of Home Alone 1 Marv,
Yeah,
very similar.
yeah. That brings me to my biggest problem. Why the hell, every time he made these traps, like when he set them on fire, the two traps that were one after another, he poured the gasoline on the ground
Mm-hmm.
and then had the dart with the Rambo dart with
Mhm.
the flames. Nothing came of that. That bothered me. Like I was expecting him to go up in the flames. I was going to see him burn. Like it didn't pay off.
No.
And then I think the thing right after that didn't pay off either. The only thing that paid off was the
When they shot him.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of
Yeah.
it is probably that they don't want the kid to actually murder a guy.
well, he could have a Jason moment where he has like a cool 30-second burn, and then we get to see a really cool looking Santa later on. Like a Freddy type Santa
yeah.
would have been kind of sweet. I don't know. It just seemed to me like that was a trap that was kind of a waste.
The makeup was really bad. on Santa.
I don't know.
It started out good.
Yeah, I don't know what
And
those
then
bumps on his face was.
As they I guess as they continued to shoot this movie, there wasn't great consistency with the makeup.
Right.
And
Well, he had the one head injury from the windshield that he broke with his head.
yeah, I'm talking about like his cheeks, like his
Right.
cheekbones. Like there was all kinds of, I guess they were trying to like make it look like
it was schmutz on his
they were trying to
cheeks.
make it look like it was fresh, and then it was like scabbed, and
Right.
then it was like, you know what I mean? Like
He looked like Seal.
it was over the course of 2 hours or whatever how
Right.
it would look, but it wasn't done well. It didn't look good at all.
Yeah. And then the whole guilty thing kind of gets played over. Like
Guilty.
yeah, where the mom tells him if you try to see him, he'll turn into an angry ogre.
Uh huh.
Oh yeah.
And then at the end, he's kind of having that flashback of her saying that,
Yeah.
but it kind of gets lost. I don't know. I know what they were trying to do, but again, a good filmmaker would have really hammered that.
Well,
Yeah.
and the French existentialism moment at the beginning where he's like, I don't know if I believe in Santa Claus or anything in history. How can I know that? It's just like, damn, France.
Yeah,
like,
like
is this a kid's
Napoleon.
movie? But you haven't seen the dog part yet, so you still think it's a kid's movie. So
Yeah. Phew, man, I literally wrote "holy shit." I couldn't believe it.
I kind of wish we hadn't talked about it so much because it's a horrible surprise, but it is a very effective like punch in the face moment. Maybe we'll cut this into 2 parts. And
Well, I
then-
was gonna say Dan and Post can come in and just say, just to let you know, we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
yeah.
If you want to go see it, please turn it off.
We should do this episode as a regular episode, but then also cut out all the parts where we're talking about the dog and just make that like a 10-minute short episode just about the dog.
Right, you've seen it.
Would be fantastic.
In tribute to the dog.
Fantastic.
Yes, in tribute to the dog, whatever his name is. Is he credited?
I didn't even look.
What, the dog?
Yeah, do they credit animals or no?
They would in America, but
I want to see in the credits if it says no animals were harmed in filming this movie, because I'm gonna scroll bullshit on that. That
Yeah.
dog got kicked like 4 times.
And emotionally scarred.
And he swung him around. Like, I was like, before he stabbed him, I was like, holy shit, that dog is gonna die. And then he did.
yikes. That was a very convincing dead dog moment, though. But also
Oh, yeah.
very like carrying your dead buddy through the jungle Rambo moment, right? Like, there's a reason he wasn't just like wrapped up in a bag and dragged down the hallway. They were going for something, but
They wanted that tongue hanging out.
was it in
He had
good
a-
taste? I
Yeah.
don't know.
It was a Lieutenant Dan moment.
So, what an odd movie. What a strange, odd movie. I do like the shot, the like extended Dario Argento panning shot of him pulling the tripwire through the trap. That felt very inspired for a moment.
Again, right out of Predator.
And not a lot of pillow feathers coming out of that trap. That was a little meaner.
No. And the darts. I was like, holy
Yeah,
shit.
dude, how did he
That
live
was the other
through
one
that?
didn't pay off. It was
Yeah.
he just took 6 darts to the neck, and then they show him just walking. Like, I want that shit to pay
How
off.
did he not die?
I want him to have Jason moments where we're like seeing the hatchet, go into his head. And,
Yeah.
like, all that shit. If you're gonna do it, do it. You did it to the dog.
Yeah.
Do it to Santa.
I thought that too. It didn't pay off.
None of those
I'm
cool
like,
traps
I'm like,
paid
what
off.
did he do? Did he pull it out of his neck? Did he leave it in there? Did what?
Like, at least in Nightmare on Elm Street, you get the payoff of that sledgehammer hitting him in the gut, and you get to see him get thrown in the flame, like he gets burned from the the cocktail she throws on him. Like, this is like he just took 6 darts to the neck and he's fine, and then he gets blown up in the basement with gasoline. No, we're not going to show him burn. Like, I was just like, where's all the payoffs? You waited this whole time. I watched this kid basically create all these traps, and none of them gave me anything.
Well, but it's the same thing that happens in Home Alone, only in that case you get little payoffs, but it's still not enough to kill any of the guys. So
Yeah, but I think every trap pays off pretty good because they show it. They show the nail go in his foot. They show that every paint can hit every face. They show the spider. They show they show it all.
I have to disagree with you, Dan.
on which
I feel
thing?
like every booby trap in Home Alone paid off.
Yeah.
But it never kills the guy, right? Like you get
No,
the
never.
impact.
No, never
That's 'cause
kills
they're
the guy.
guardian angels.
Right. I forgot. That's right.
Right. No, but each one of those traps, I feel like when it happened, I didn't expect it. He wasn't trying to kill the guys. He was trying to make the guys give up and go away.
Right. But his
You
traps
know?
were more freaking fatal
Yeah.
than the ones in this movie.
What, you think so?
Oh my god.
Darts to the neck versus
Paint can to the face, man. Jeez.
I mean,
Louise.
paint can to the face, yeah, but like, you know, you can duck out of the way.
The
or,
fire?
Dude,
you know.
Kevin
so much
put
fire.
a fucking iron 30
Yeah.
feet in the air and then made the cord the light switch. Like, I mean, come on. That thing came down full speed. That
That's-
should have went through half of his face.
That's brilliant, bro. That's
so
brilliant.
painful.
Are you thirsty for more? Like, ugh.
You know what I loved?
I'm gonna go home and watch it.
The little thing that I forgot about in Home Alone that I remembered when what are the two guys' names? It's Marv.
Harry and Marv.
So which one's Harry's the tall
Harry's
one,
Joe
right?
Pesci.
Okay.
So Marv is the big guy.
Marv is the tall
Tall
one.
guy.
Okay. When he comes into the basement and steps on the nail,
Hmm.
right? And then a lot of things happen and before he
He
steps
gets
on the nail.
tarred and feathered.
Yeah. and then
And then
when
burned.
and then he leaves, he goes out the door, and in my mind I was like, "Oh, I remember this." Like he goes out the door, they wait a sec, and then he falls on his ass because of the ice that he
Ice,
forgot
right.
about. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, it's the same thing with the
Like talk about a gag paying off. Like they paid off that ice. And I didn't think that Harry's ice falls were as good.
no,
right.
but
They were very slapstick.
the burning
you know?
of his hand and then the burning of his head in the toilet.
Yeah.
Like
Toilet
he
is
kisses her.
2. It's a
toilet
blowtorch
is
on
2.
a door frame in the first one.
Oh, that's
It's
right. the toilet.
blowtorch.
But the
Toilet.
hand is
After-
straight
after
out
he
of
burned
Indiana
his hand.
Jones, which is fun.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. So, George, we've covered a lot of Deadly Games, which I think we can all agree, people listening to this who haven't seen it need to check it out one way or another at least once. Because what the fuck is this movie? But also, like, it's pretty fun, kind of.
Yeah, I think everyone should be as disturbed as me at some point.
It's like Full
At-
Metal
in their life.
Jacket. There's 2 movies here. There's before he kills the fucking dog, and then after he kills the dog. It's 2 different movies.
Yeah.
It's like Full Metal Jacket training camp or boot camp, and then when they go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's 2 different movies.
So I think what we'll do here is I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about what we have so far. And then I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a cliffhanger and make you come back on Friday for a special in-between episode where we'll talk about a little bit extra influence on Home Alone and another French movie. So we have Deadly Games, George. We have a menacing bearded villain, right? We've got Marv with a painted beard and no Harry. We've got a resilient kid making a couple of traps. But what are we missing? What isn't in Deadly Games that is in Home Alone?
Family.
A father.
Well, you've got the mom. Well, okay, so here's a question for you. You bring up the father. Notice in
Comedy.
Home Alone,
Comedy, yeah.
Comedy's missing.
notice in Home Alone that the mom is the one who's actually doing all the work to get home. And the dad's just kind of doot, 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 doot. Right? Like, that's
Yeah.
interesting. That the
That's
mom
because
is
he's an
the...
organized crime.
Well, yeah, could be.
He doesn't want to go home.
Waiting
The
for his
FBI's watching
handler to
him.
come back.
Right.
So, you could argue, I think I could make a decent argument that the heavy involvement of his mother in Home Alone could be tied to the heavy, desperation of his mother to get home in the storm in Deadly Games. Whereas the dad's gone in Home Alone, the dad's just kind of plugging along without any kind of urgency, which doesn't really affect when he gets home. That's kind of a weird choice, but maybe that might be a statement on faith, right? Like sometimes things just work out even if you don't work so hard. I don't know. Is that
because she went
that a
through all that
reach?
shit and they both showed up at the house at the same time. anyway.
Exactly. If she just kept the faith, man, they would have gotten
Yeah.
home just fine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then you wouldn't get John Candy.
But you wouldn't get John Candy, and we all want a piece of that John Candy. Isn't that
Or
true?
Right.
Elvis in the airport.
I appreciated John Candy.
I miss the hell out of him.
I know, man. Gone too soon. So, what I want to do, I want to give you a little bit of tease of things that you might find in this next movie. You might find the old man who shovels dead bodies into salted barrels and then actually turns out to be a pretty nice dude.
Okay.
You might find why the parents are gone and why the parents make it home by the end of the movie. You might find why they end up in Home Alone 2 having him miss his flight and end up flying to New York instead.
Okay.
You might also find an ogre eating fucking children. So, here's the thing. Do you think
Jack.
it's weird?
Jack was his name. Just popped in my head. Holy shit. Sorry, go ahead, ogre.
Do you think it's
eats
weird
children.
at the end of Home Alone? It's kind of it's an odd escalation to go from like, oh, we hate this kid to like, I'm going to eat his fingers. Right? Like, I'm going to bite this kid's fingers off. We've been bashing each other around. Ha ha ha. Now I'm going to bite your fingers off individually.
Well, doesn't Harry bite Kevin's fingers in the original?
He starts to. That's what I'm saying. Harry, at the end of the movie, he threatens. Why does he do that? Where does that come from? What is in the author's head when he's writing this movie?
I'm assuming another French movie.
There might be an ogre that likes to eat children. Did you notice we didn't have a lot of fire traps in Deadly Games? There's the one, and it's not. It doesn't resemble anything that happens in Home Alone.
No.
So where do those fire traps come from? And the paint cans. Where do the paint cans come from?
I guess I'm gonna find
You
out.
might have to come back on Friday, and we'll talk some more French cinema. Are you guys excited?
What's the movie called?
The name of the movie that we'll be talking about in our next segment.
Do I have to get another free trial to another streaming system?
Unfortunately, this one is only available on Amazon Prime, and I'm not 100% sure that whoever put it on Amazon Prime is actually the rights holder, because it looks like somebody just ripped their VHS tape and put it on Prime.
Oh, wow.
So you may just want to wait till after the episode to decide if it's worth your $5. But it is a movie called Here Comes Santa Claus. Although nowadays on the digital services, it's actually called I Believe in Santa Claus. On IMDb, it's referred to as J'ai rencontré le Père Noël, which
Easy for you to say.
I assume is either Here Comes Santa Claus or I Believe in Santa Claus, but I don't speak any French.
My fishing gear is on the kitchen.
Yeah. So if you want to do a little research between now and Friday, listeners, feel free to jump in. We just talked about Deadly Games, which is a weird movie. This movie, I Believe in Santa Claus, may be weirder. By the time Santa Claus is in Africa performing a counterterrorism operation with a fairy princess.
Be kidding me.
Is this the beginning of Scrooged?
Jesus Christ.
George is like, I'm quitting the podcast. Can't
So-
do another weird movie.
So here's the thing. There are times in that movie where even it's a kid's movie. My kids would be like, Dad, why are the rebels mad at their own government? And are they the bad guys? And I honestly have to say, I don't know. I don't know what their government
Just shut up
policies
and watch
are.
the Ewoks.
Yeah. So if that's not a good enough sales pitch to watch this movie, I guess I'll just see it Friday and try again. But guys, I Believe in Santa Claus on Amazon Prime. It's listed as, on the Prime listing, as 1950. It's from 1984. I don't know why the Prime listing is wrong. But check it out on IMDb.
Well, that way with Hellraiser too. It was like from 23 or something.
You know.
That and Nosferatu.
So check out I Believe in Santa Claus, or come back on Friday and listen to us talk about this fucking weird movie and see if you want to spend $5 on Prime, or do like I did a couple years ago and grab the VHS tape on eBay. What's up? We'll see you back here on Friday.
Wow.
Woof.
Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can discuss the show in our group, facebook.com/groups/remedialfilmpod. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram @remedialfilmpod. And of course, you can still email us like it's 1996, remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. We'll see you here back on Friday for I Believe in Santa Claus, the, I'm going to say, Amazon Prime pick of the year. Guys, don't sleep on this weird fucking French movie. All right, we'll see you back here on Friday. Thank you so much.